we're all impacted by this here in the state of California, but particularly here as it relates to education, we have been plagued, for lack of a better descriptor, with repeated hits to the education world from our state budget systems, which are connected to our federal. So I'd like for Bob Harrison and then Edwin Diaz to talk a little bit about the status that we're in today. What are we facing in our district today as it relates to our budget projections going into this school year? So Bob, you want to start? And
Sure.
then Paul will take.
Well, we're, as I mentioned a little bit in the speech, we probably have moved past. I kept saying to groups that I would talk to that we are in uncertain times, and we've moved beyond that. It's just certainly bad from a financial position. And it's the biggest frustration, I think, that I would share with board members is you know, if we had a budget from the state that said, well, this is what it is, we can deal with that. It's tough because nobody ran for school board, I think, because you had a good idea on how to cut $25 million out of the PUSD, budget. We're all looking at things on how to enhance. But if we had that piece of information that we knew was going to be the piece of, that was going to be the dollar figure, because so much of our budget is based on that state figure, then we can deal with it, and we can make plans, and we can, we could make good decisions and put that. But we don't have that right now. So that when when you read that, hey, the federal government is going to give us $3 million so we don't have to lay off teachers, we're concerned that we may get that, and we are going to get that, but the state is also looking, because they haven't passed a budget. That may be a figure that they will use to help them pass a budget, and so when the state allocation comes, it's just going to be whatever it was going to be minus $3 million. So we've got to wait and see what exactly that is, so that we can do it. There's always this perception of we're in this trouble because we overspend on this and we overspend on that. And like any organization, I'm sure we could go through, and we have in the last year, and tighten some things up and look at everything. But by and large, every year we put forth a balanced budget. That's our requirement. And at the end of the year, we've got to meet that. And so, there's the bigger problem is knowing, trying to run a business when you have no idea what this revenue figure is going to be, and can change daily when they actually start talking about it. It can change daily, and usually it's a change to the worse.
Yes. Edwin Diaz?
Yeah, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that the funding for public schools in California is inadequate and it's unstable. And the fact that public schools over the last couple of years have lost $19 billion in revenues is a disgrace. Tuesday, when we opened up school, we were operating with 100 less employees and $1,000 less per student than we had just last year. And so you heard about our goals and our aspirations for our kids. It makes it much more difficult to do that work when you have less resources. I mean, that's just the reality. And where it shows up is a couple more students in every class, increased class size, less opportunity for enrichment or support. It's a very, very difficult situation. However, I want to give a positive spin on this and use a real example. When we cut $25 million for this year's budget, one of our budget cuts was to significantly reduce summer school. And so as a result of that, the district was only able to offer summer school to a small group of students who basically needed to attend summer school this summer, otherwise they would not have a possibility of graduating this year. So they had to make up courses. And so the other exciting programs that PUSD had funded in the past could no longer be funded. So our solution in living on a budget is to look at the resources of the community, both in time, expertise, and dollars. And so what happened with summer school this year is, thanks to the Pasadena Education Foundation, we had a variety of activities for kids to engage in. Thanks to the faith community coming together, we had a targeted program for kids who were at risk, and we're working on life skills. Thanks to some community-based organizations, we had individual tutoring and instruction in algebra that we didn't plan on. And so that's an example of how here in Pasadena, Altadena, and Sierra Madre, in spite of the reduced resources, we can still be able to provide the type of experiences for our kids that they need and deserve. And so when we talk about living on a budget, we have to find those opportunities to engage the community more directly into what we're doing academically.